All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So we're gonna take a look at hopefully 5 on this one. I want to cover BBAI, I want to cover SOUN, I want to cover CIFR and IREN. 2 of them I haven't really covered in a long time, and then I am trying to wrap it up with SOFI at the end. All right, and look, before I get into the tickers, we have to talk about the markets right now, right? And it's a little bit tough right now. I say this all the time, right? When the markets go up, it's like a calm ocean. You can take our little boats, our little tickers deep and deep into the deep ocean of profit, right? As you start to go horizontal on the indices, it gets a little tougher, all right? Like this was a tough little moment right here, right? It gets tougher, all right? Hopefully we get through the tough and we go back up. And like with FOMC almost 2 weeks away, a little less than 2 weeks away, that should, be what we're hoping for. Hopefully Powell does what he's supposed to do, keep all those interest rate, interest rate cut hopes alive and strong and all that. Maybe deeper cuts, bigger cuts, right? No more 0.25s. Give me a 0.5, right? Like, let's speed this up. Maybe that'll be what takes us up. But when the market's up, it's great. When the market's horizontal, it's tough. And then we're trying to avoid the market down, which is horribly hard to trade, right? I said this in a comment, and I do want to say it here. I have been mouse trying to steal the cheese trading. All right, I'm not sure that's in any trading books. I don't know how technical or official that phrase is, but like a little mouse trying to steal a little bit of cheese every single day to survive, right? I basically wake up, because I'm on the West Coast, right? It's 6:30 in the morning. I wake up around 6:30 in the morning. I look at some charts. I buy some stuff. I go back to bed. I do my thing. At just before 1 o'clock, right? Just before market closes, just before I start to hit record on these videos, I'll basically sell just about everything. Maybe some stuff I think might have a shot to continue, but then I'll eat the red the next day and get so angry at myself. Come on, chart reader, dude, right? But nonetheless, it's been harder to hold things, all right? That said, the one thing I have been echoing, look, this NASDAQ horizontal is arguably a little bit better than the S&P because look, we're obviously under the 20 moving average even to right now. And as you zoom in, we're barely over that 8 right there, right? But we're at least under the 20 right there. And we're at least under the 20 on the Dow Jones, right? So we're definitely horizontal on all 3, and none of them are fantastic. But hey, this is at least doing relatively just a little bit better when you at least look at the 20 moving average, right? With that said, we are looking at some tech-heavy stocks, but man, it's been tough trading, right? What looked like an amazing breakout, what looked like should be going to 980 and higher, right? Basically got stopped by 50% candle, and I'll get into the details shortly, right? When we look at SOUN, we said this is going to come to 2217, and I mean to the penny. The high of the day was 2217 if you're looking at the box over there. One more time, 50% candle came into the picture and stopped things that looked like it was going to be better, right? CIFR and IREN have been on a tear. And man, break all 5. My girls, for you watching this, break all 5 and fly. Bounce on the 8 moving average like a champ. All-time highs is a beautiful thing. I mean, almost everything I say on every video happened on CIFR. It happened on IREN. Really, there weren't a lot of educated things I could have said on this thing, right? All I was doing was just look how beautiful this thing bounces on the 8, right? We're now at a place where I finally can say some educated things, and we'll take a look at these 2. Look, there's still so much to like on these, but yeah, we're below the 8. Let's see how the 20 holds, and we'll draw some good support lines as well, right? But these 2 have been on a tear, and they gained me a nice friend on Twitter that I'm glad to have gained. And then the last one we got to talk about is SOFI, all right? Because as I've been covering SOFI, the main thing I've been saying, and I'm going to zoom out all the way to here. Since we got back over it in April, this 50 moving average has been an incredibly strong line that we've never used. Even in these moments right here, wick means absolutely nothing to me. Got close to it, but doesn't matter. Wick doesn't matter to me. And that actually to the penny, yeah, look at that. Just above it. The low of the day was 75 cents, and it's 74 cents right there, all right? So this is the first time a candle touches it. It was today, and actually we opened below it. Look in the second line, we open at 26.02. That's 4 cents below the 26.06 the 50 moving average was sitting on, right? Hey, we closed up here, and I'll give you some more of my thoughts on that, right? But 50 moving average, you're now, let's see what happens, right? Also, hey, it's a different color red. I'll tell you what that means in a bit, but I do like this red more than that one. That's for sure, right? More than this one too, et cetera, et cetera. So, interesting things going on all of these, right? Definitely some funkier stuff happening in the indices than we want. But again, my working assumption is when Powell gets on the microphone, he's going to do some good things. He's going to hopefully indicate that maybe some bigger cuts are coming, right? Like that's the goal. Give me a second. I'm going to pause this. I'm going to show you the website that I love talking about. One sec. Okay, so we are at this website, the CME group. Look, I am not logged in. I'm not logged in with my personal stuff. I'm not logged in with my chart reader stuff. They don't have any info on me, all right? These are all just probabilities. Nothing's for certain, right? But we're expecting 100% on October 29th. We're expecting 100% ease on December. We're still expecting 100% ease in January, and you can see as you go deeper into the calls, they're actually starting to think about bigger rate cuts, right? So, I'm not making these words up as I'm saying it. Yeah, this one we're expecting a 0.25. 99% chance of a 0.25, maybe a 0.5, right? But Powell says some good things, and maybe this 94.6% can start to look like this January one that looks like there's a big 0.5 coming to start the year off, right? So you know what I mean? Like maybe a little reassurance in this will start to make the indices a little better and connect the dots, right? So cool. Before we do go any further though, and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we gonna do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, I'm so grateful for it. All right, so look, let's get into it one more time. Man, BBAI fooled me. That's the easiest thing I can say, and it's really disappointing, right? So this was a good big candle right here. This basically came, like I said in the opening thoughts, almost perfectly, it's my wife real quick. Hold on. Sorry, I gotta pause this. Okay, cool. So like I said, I'm almost perfectly clicking right here on 50% of this big candle. That's almost exactly where we stopped on this big one, right? So I was ready to take the next 50% on up and go on here. And really, that's the exact same thought with SOUND. Look, with SOUND, as much as the line was right here, right? Like I obviously thought that this was going to be an important line because again, it's 50% of this big candle right here, right? I really was expecting it to break and continue on up and take me to the top of the mountain, right? I really was on BBAI expecting it to take me all the way to the top of the mountain and take me here and then beyond, right? So they both had the setup. They both had it where, again, like the other tech stocks that are taking off, right? The quantum ones, these things were pushing hard, right? And as things start to push crazy and you start to see some like crazy high RSIs, the natural thought is let's move to the next tech that's similar, that's auxiliary, that I need AI to do quantum things. I need quantum things to do AI things, right? And it was there, but the problem was the NASDAQ didn't go with it. And you hear me say it all the time. Look, this was a bad candle on BBAI. BBAI was able to recover and then some on the 13th, right? The problem was on the 13th, yeah, we got a lot of it back, but we didn't get as much as BBAI did. We didn't get all of it and then some, right? And as this stayed flat, that reality came to BBAI and we basically came back flat to where we were before the takeoff, right? Sorry. Same thing with SOUNDHOUND, right? What looked like, what actually was, and I'm telling you, I'm less impressed about hitting this line and I'm more disappointed about not taking off, because even as you look at this candle, we were only at a 74 RSI, right? Like day before was a good one, so let's use the number of this one. This was a 76, right? So maybe a good day would have taken us to like 77, 78. Yo, this thing hasn't pushed 85 in a while. It's ready to, but it decided no, and NASDAQ said no. And again, the index ocean matters a lot. It is so much easier to get on a boat when the ocean is calm than when it's rough, tough, or horrible, right? So let's see what Powell will do. For now, this is basically what we're expecting, all right? This is a really critical doji on a really critical line, right? They weren't sure if this should fall all the way down to the next. You lose the 8, you come to the 20. You lose the 20, you come to the 50, right? And that's all the way down here. And that's what this doji is asking. Are we coming down or are we going back up? And that's really what we're looking for. This either must get over 8 or it's dropping to 650. There's very little in between. We're actually already in the in between, right? Like I don't think we're gonna stall right here at like 7. I think we either go to 8 or it fast falls back down to here. And again, it's gonna be very heavy on what NASDAQ does. Look, today on NASDAQ was actually not bad, right? We gap down and open all the way down here, but hey, we at least get all the way up. And actually look at this, right? By $4, we're over the 8 moving average as well as the 20, which you at least see under right there, right? So we're over both of them, right? The other two indices can't say that. So, hey, maybe that's a little bit of hope, but really we got to get to like at least 22.9. I'm clicking at 22,850-ish, like maybe something around there, but BBAI recovered the scary candle, right? That's what NASDAQ needs to do. That's what we're looking for. Get me over 8. It will probably be dictated on what NASDAQ does. Exact same words, just different lines, right? So, hey, we're at least over the 20. That's a good thing, right? Same scary though. If we get to the 20, the 50's all the way down here, right? So we don't want that to happen. The first immediacy is don't go below 1760, all right? Oh, wow, you can see we already wicked the bottom of this and the 50% of that right there. It's okay. Yeah, that's the number. Because look, I could say, hey, just hold the 20. That's going to probably be around 18-ish. That's basically that line right there. You know what I mean? So don't go below 1762. If you go below 1762, you're going to come to 1650, then 16. It's going to be a quick 1-2. What we really need to do is get back over 1975. Get me into that $20 range and I'll start thinking about 22 again. That's a beautiful 10% right there, right? So I love it at 20. I do. For now, we're kind of staying horizontal, mimicking the NASDAQ, right? That's kind of what I'm assuming. Hopefully Powell will save us, all right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your... Oh, hey, earnings aren't that far away, if I'm not mistaken. BBAI... Yeah, it's a few weeks away, is around 11. I think someone said the 3rd in the comments. This system says the 4th. I don't really know which one's accurate, but around there. And then SOUNDHOUND, I did just see it. This one's 11/11, so a little more than a month on SOUNDHOUND, but a couple weeks away on BBAI, right? So just keep that in mind. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's take a look at 2 stocks I actually wish I covered more during the run, but at the minimum, they really do highlight a lot of the things I talk about on my videos, right? Good things happen over the 8 and the 20. 8 and the 20 just carried this thing, and really it was the 8 itself, right? When you look at IREN, man, this is beautiful to me right here, right? And even this little moment right here when you're looking at this thing, and I mean, this was just beautiful. Beyond the 8 and the 20, you're talking about you break all 5 and you fly. I mean, that is flying and then some, right? So IREN and CIFR are the 2 we're going to talk about. And again, there's a lot of things that are going to mimic them, right? I want to talk at least about the breakout one bit, and there's a couple lines I would draw. Now, this is what I would have done, and hopefully these are some solid nuggets. So look, this is the only green candle up here, right? So you gotta basically put right there. Yeah, that was actually a really good click. That's a good 50% candle right there. And then, hey, I'll just take that thing right there. I think the top of that, look at that. It was the perfect top of that. Those are the only two lines I think we need to look at IREN. I promise you I didn't practice that, okay? Makes sense that we went horizontal right there because, again, you just saw it. Give me a sec. That's where we hit the two tops right here and then literally never did anything absolutely ever for the last couple years right there, right? So completely makes sense that it went horizontal right here. So you've now broken all five and flown till you got to your first real test. Then this line right here was the only green. If I pick the top of the candle and say, can I just do this real quick? I think if I picked the top of the candle instead of the middle, I would have gotten a better, don't freeze on me, baby. I would have gotten a better answer. Again, you know I'm not perfect, right? I probably should have taken the top. That's give or take the top right there. That's probably where the gap up open was. Close enough, right? Like it was in that between, it just gapped up, kind of came back for roughly a test of the line, roughly a test of the 8, and then this is what all-time highs look like. There's just, you gotta love all-time highs, especially if you're over the 8 and the 20. Like that's just the beauty of it. We're gonna do the exact same thing with CIFR. CIFR, I have a line. Damn, I'm gonna delete it. Let's see how close to that line I hit. I do remember that line. Oh, I could have kept it. We didn't even need it. It's all the stuff's happening up here. It's okay. Give me a sec. This thing is slow. I got fiber internet. Why are you slow, baby? So look, all of this just tells me $10 is an important line. I don't know if this was a SPAC, a D-SPAC or not, but that's an important something right there. So I would take this 50% candle right there. And I think those are the only two lines we need. I do. Because I think from there, everything else happens. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. So we try to break here, and look, that's a good candle. Those are little dojis that don't count. Like you need two good candles back to back, right? Right here is actually where we start to go. And look, what I love is you can't get over the 200, this purple one. You then get over it, and instead of falling below it, you use it as a bounce. What goes from a hard resistance becomes a strong support, and man, the 200 moving average bounce is a huge one. From there, this is really kind of the only line where we see a little bit of struggle. A little bit right there, but nothing really, right? This is the one, and so on and so forth. Now, the lines weren't as good as this one. It happens more in IREN. But these are actually some good lines to talk about for right now, and that's basically what I'm going to do. So I'll move this actually up to here. I think that's a little bit better of an immediate line. And I guess we'll call it this one. That's a 50% there, a better right there. And we know they're at least relatively connected to something in the past right there, right? So look, the first immediate thought is get me back over the 8 moving average. I'd probably take this line. Get me back over 1975 is really what I'd like to see right here on CIFR. Get me over that, and I'm going to assume that the run keeps going. Look, this thing's done a really good job of living at pretty high RSI numbers. It's actually at a really healthy 73. We can go nicely back up into the 80s and continue on a little bit, right? So get me that number right there. We really don't want, and that's what we wicked on today's candle right there. We can't go below this line now. You can't lose 1750, basically where we open today, because you can see it's pretty much the top of that candle right there as well. Lose that 1750, and I think it'll be a quick fall to the 20. The 20 to the 50 is a bad fall. We do have this line right here, but it's basically green, green, green. That could be a pretty scary red, 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 right? So it is critical that we don't lose this 1575, and honestly, man, I don't know how strong I like this. I get that there's a candle here, but I don't even know how strong that 14 is going to be. The simple thing is don't lose 1575 right here. When we look at IREN, it's essentially the same thoughts. Look, those past lines are too low, right? So they're really kind of meaningless at this point right now, right? Come from this thing did an amazing, I can't stress enough, this thing did an amazing job running on the 8, right? It's okay to go below the 8 because the 20 should bounce you up. The 8 and the 20 are good friends. I can also show you for sure there is always a moment, and I'll zoom in, there's always a moment in almost every single stock where the 8 and the 20 is a worst enemy. You know, you struggle with the 8, you struggle with the 8, but then the 20, then the 20, then the 20. Like the two lines work in a pair, right? So what should happen, and it happened right here already on this run, is I'm going to delete this line. We don't need this line. Yeah, we fell a little bit below, but we never confirmed. And then we just got right back up and we went, right? The two lines had a good support. We should hit this and come back up. That's generally how the 8 and the 20 work. It would be very bad if this got below 54.30. I actually like IREN as low as 54.30, and I should have said that with CIFR. SIFR. I like CIFR as low as 15.90. I do. Hold the 8 and the 20, and you're all good in my book, right? Once you start to lose that, that's where the worry comes. With IREN, I think it's just a little bit louder because, like I said, those historical lines aren't here. All we got is green, green, green. Between here, let's just draw it, and I'll delete them real quick. Between here and here, green, green, green could bring a scary red, red, red. Maybe there's a little bit of a support right there around 45, but like that's the fear, right? Don't go below 54 as best possible. But hey, I'm cool with it going as low as 54. All right. Where are we on the weekly with these? Look, this is still really nice. But what does happen is we go away from the 8, then back to the 8. We've now gone away from the 8. Maybe we're going to come back to the 8, right? And the problem is the 8's really low, right? So hopefully that's not the case, and maybe it stabilizes horizontally, because what this actually does is it goes away from the 8 and then stays horizontal till it hits the 8 and goes, right? Maybe we're going away from the 8, we'll stay a little horizontal and then go, right? Maybe just a little down to that 54 maybe even, right? And then go. That would be a nice little... Essentially the exact same thoughts right here, right? We go away from it. We kind of go below it, which isn't good, but we go away from it. This one went horizontal. We go away from it. I would say that went horizontal. We've gone away from it. Maybe we'll stay a little horizontal, right? So I like that they both kind of show that. Hey, let me go back to the daily. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Let's wind it out with SOFI. And look, there's definitely two things that we got to talk about with SOFI. It's this regional bank scare, and it's the 50 moving average. And you can guess which one I have better educated thoughts about. All right. So, look, I don't know a lot of the details about this regional bank thing. I'm going to even use the word naively, but I think I'm naively staying bullish at the moment because look, what was expected of the Trump administration was that the bigger companies were going to just keep getting bigger and they were going to eat the small ones. And I think that includes regional versus national, major versus smaller banks. All right. And I might be wrong. I am not in the banking industry. I'm not a financial dude. I'm not an economist, right? But to me, the regional scares are part of the bigger fish growing. And there's for sure going to be some weird shakeouts from it. I'm not going to say it's going to like come smoothly, right? And I think SOFI is trying to be on that bigger side versus the regional side, right? Like I'm a Charger fan. They got Herbo as their spokesman, right? So they already get some easy love from me, right? But I think the regional fear I'm putting aside. What bothers me is this 50 moving average hit, all right? And look, it happens, right? Nvidia hits the 50 moving average. Tesla hits the 50 moving average. Everyone's eventually going to hit the 50 moving average. I loved how we've done this run without hitting the 50 average, right? Today, we actually opened below it. The line, if you're looking in the box over there, it's the red one in the first top box was at 26.06. We opened 4 cents below it at 02. We for sure climbed up and we closed right here. and I do see it going up after hours, which is a little bit nice to see for sure, right? But I think overall, I'm focusing on this 50. Look, the 50 is the first of the three strong lines. The 50 is difficult to break up, and it should be difficult to lose down, all right? Don't lose the 50 moving average because it's kind of been the theme of this video. If you lose this line, you're gonna come, like when we're working our way up, you break this up, then you go that 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 up. If you go down, you're gonna do the opposite, and the fall from the 50 all the way to the blue one at the 100 is a bad fall. As I'm looking at it, it's not a crazy percentage, but it is about 20%. No one wants to eat a 20% loss, right? So I'm watching this 50. I'm probably, look, I think it could be a little bit flexible with SOFI. I think anywhere between 25.75 and 25.40 is arguably okay. Some might even say 25 is okay because it's the top of that, almost the bottom of that, almost the bottom of that. Like some could even say as low as 25. But after 25, it's a fall down to 23. Look, if you're long on SOFI, it's kind of okay because SOFI has done this before. We've gone up, just don't lose the 20. This thing's basically saying don't go below 22.40 in a long-term thing and you'll be okay, right? Um, but yeah, if you're short, if you're quick, if you're this or that, you can't go below 25. All right. Again, I think I'm basically, like I said, I'm assuming that the regional thing isn't going to be a scare. I do think the power rate stuff should be good for this as well, right? As rates go down, people will be more inclined to take out loans, will be more inclined to call SoFi and say, hey, give me some financial services, please. I have those needs, et cetera, right? Obviously, they'll be making a little bit less because they're making less interest on them. But if people aren't even knocking on the door, which it kind of sounds like, right? I think more customers at a less rate isn't a bad thing. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions. Even if you disagree, hey, I appreciate you so, so much.